Can you dig it, people? Happy Socialist Sunday. Welcome to the stream. This is the Sunday live stream on My Left Eye. Your humble host, Lefty, here with you this evening. You're all very welcome. Having a good weekend? Let us know in the chat who is in first. Let's have a look. Divinia, great to see you. Idiosyncrasies there as well. A few people joining us as I speak. JK, Mobius, Specs Beam Farmer, great to see you all. Doc Davies, we have a Doc in the house. Edward Sexby, hope you've all been well. Hope you're having a good week. And Floor Snake just jumping in there as well. Awesome. Snake, don't forget to get in touch. mylefteyeuk@gmail.com about that clip. If you still want it. Good to see you all. A lot of familiar faces in the chat. Good to see new people as well. And speaking of which, actually, off the back of some of this week's content, we're now getting up to almost 5.3 thousand subscribers, which is awesome stuff. You might recall the channel recently celebrated passing that 5,000 subscribers mark. So please do hit thumbs up on the stream, give us a share around your social media, pick a random video, one of your recent favourites, one of your classic favourites, or this very stream. Give us a shout out and a tag there. We're available on Blue Sky, Twitter and Mastodon at MyLeftEyeUK. And we'll follow you back, of course. Part of Socialist Sunday is all about reaching out and connecting with fellow socialists, so please do add us on social media. We do follow back all genuine left-wing socialist accounts of all kinds. We're open to a broad discussion here, whether you're an outright anarchist or a democratic socialist or anything in between. Yeah, just another reminder, make sure you hit thumbs up as well. Really does help us out on the algorithm. The algo gods. Edward Sexby, you were in Ipswich yesterday, but now you got to chill. Oh, sorry to hear that. Hope you do report that to the Ipswich Tourism Board. Good point there, more. Yes, some of the recent content on the channel concerning that by-election in Caerphilly in Wales. Good result there, keeping the fash out. Socialist Party prevailing. Let's see more of that. I'll be getting into UK politics galore this evening. I think we went over 3 hours last Sunday, didn't we, on the Sunday stream? Do have quite a bit to get through as well, but I'll be talking about what's coming up in the Fondue Lounge shortly. A customary shout out to all of the members on the channel though. Speaking of support, as well as hitting thumbs up and sharing, you might want to consider joining the channel. It's just 99 pence, and these fine people here have chosen to do so. I knew there was something I hadn't done before I came on the stream. Just have to adjust the goal there. Fortunately, a few people haven't renewed in the last few days. Dropped down to 95 at the moment, if you're keeping count, whilst this list of marvellous members plays. But there are a lot of perks to enjoy for that fraction of a price of a tasty hot beverage. Check them out. You get some exclusive content, you get some early viewings, that sort of thing. Static emojis to use on these very streams. And lots of shout outs, of course, on the streams as well as other content. So that's a very fresh hot off the press list. There, thank you very much for all of your support. Speaking of which, Idiosyncrasy takes us back over the 100. Excellent effort there, thank you very much, Idiosyncrasy. A long-term viewer of the channel as well. Let's adjust that target now. Thanks again. Please big up Idiosyncrasy in the chat, please, everybody, for that generous contribution. I can see some familiar names there on the recipients, including Davinia Robbins, good shot, who was first in the chat. So Andrew Luke, Aaron Bloody Teeth, Davinia, of course, and Ian McKenna, of course, another long-term viewer. Do enjoy your perks. You're back within the membership circle. And a very warm welcome back. And speaking of back, right off the back of that, thank you very much, Specs, for those 5 gifted memberships as well. Another 5. Excellent start to the stream. Taking us up to 105. Make you jive this Socialist Sunday, people. How's about that? Nobody, John Ferrer, RC Pilot, Louise McGee and Norm Finnegan, please do enjoy your perks. Big up. Specs Bean Farmer in the chat, please, as well, everybody. And Idiosyncrasy. That's what I like to see this Socialist Sunday, a good bit of solidarity. Do appreciate that. What a great audience we've got here on the channel. And as I said, getting up towards 5.3 thousand, really pleased to have achieved that in such a short amount of time. And Davinia's back, and you've been gifted a membership, Davinia. Nice warm welcome back there for Davinia. And also Mighty Mouse receiving one from Morbius, thanks a lot more. Shout out for Morbius, who is also a fellow YouTuber as well. For any horticultural viewers, green-fingered Mo there does document a few goings on in the back garden and allotment. Thanks again, Mo. Your support's always appreciated. Another long-term viewer. So 106. Merci beaucoup. Just having a chuckle at a bit of humour there in the chat. So I'll try and make sure that stays up to date. For any YouTube nerds, any broadcast software nerds, I can't actually use the dock feature. For some reason, it just never works on this. I've got a fairly basic setup here, do have to admit, on the channel at the moment. But your gifted memberships and so on are all going towards an upgrade that will be coming before the year's out. So instead of a dock, I had to just use a window catcher, which, if you don't keep it open, falls asleep. Occasionally. And that's when we're not being plagued by other problems or YouTube Studio acting up, so that's why we've got a good technical support team here on the channel. We all like to dig in, myself and Phil, the mute assistant here, as well as the marsupial and primate crew. Also a shout out to Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics, the background jazz band. With us every Sunday. Classic tune for those of you who like your drinks on the rocks. Okay, to the lounge. Let's see what's coming up on this live stream. Hope you're hungry for some fondue. with Keith and Co. Let's rock. I say let's rock, it just wants to play the audio at the moment, not the... Is that the same for you? It's being a dick. One moment. Here we go. We're just hanging around in the porch there before we came in, making sure we all wiped our feet or took our shoes off. Whichever. But here we are in the lounge, so what's coming up on the stream? I catch up with some UK news. Lucy Powell winning the Labour deputy leadership race. I'll be kicking off with that. Some other UK politics with a few incidents and interviews. Let's turn the background music down there a bit. That is one of YouTube's finest earworms though, by the way. Very difficult to get that one out of your head. Yes, but also this Reform politician during a live, was it on Talk TV? I think it was on Talk TV, using some racist language. The reaction to that. Kussenberg was on earlier on, I should say. Going to take a look at a couple of those interviews. One of them in response to that appalling racist comment from Sarah Porchin. From Shadow Home Secretary, who did 2 interviews today, and at some point in between the 2 managed to do a complete U-turn. I'll explain the possible reasons why as we go through that, and also Wesley has been on the media rounds as well today, sitting across from Kussenberg, so we'll take a bit of a look at that. Not the full Kussenberg show. I can highly recommend No Justice at No Justice MTG, often in conversation with Kevin Logan, if you like an in-depth analysis of the full Laura Kussenberg show, which I know that they regularly do on Sunday. In fact, it might even be on at the same time as this stream, I'm not certain. But do bookmark that one for later. Always happy to give shout out to fellow socialist channels here. I do insist that you subscribe to those respective channels as well. Also, Zach Pelansky, just absolutely on fire at the moment, responding really well to criticism from the media, backlash from other areas as well. We had a bit of a look at that Times Radio podcast on the last live stream. Going to take a look at the topic of the last video on the channel, actually, a Sky News interview that he did the other day. So there is that as well, and also a little bit about how some people are trying to possibly create a wedge between Green Party and your party, although they both do insist that they're going to be working together, which is good to hear. And they've also responded to some of the criticisms, as well as some of the differences that have been pointed out between the two. And there are differences. If they were both exactly the same, there wouldn't really be any point in having 2 separate parties. But even though your party is in the early stages of its formation, there are certain directions on certain issues that they're definitely trying to get towards, even though the Greens might not be going the same way. So take a look at that. A couple of items from the States. I don't know if you saw a clip of, assuming that I'm hoping, / assuming, that this was at a Halloween party of some description, but somebody dressed as an SS officer received quite a backlash from other attendees at the party. This clip's gone sort of semi-viral around social media. Don't know if you've seen that one yet. Catching up on that. As well as something else that might actually take your breath away concerning housing. And while Keith's on screen, perhaps we could talk about this in parallel with his promises to build 1.5 million homes, of course. Not really doing anything to solve the social housing crisis in this country. Affordable housing to people like Keith means it'll only cost you a few £100,000. Also, there's going to be a brief episode of My Left Private Eye this evening, just going over some historical cases, actually, not some open cases, but an insight into further evidence on a historical case from over 20 years ago. Oh yes, we do get historical on My Left Private Eye. This is a serious channel about politics and society from a left-wing perspective, he says as he talks over a jaunty tune and a setup of the current Prime Minister eating fondue with some other political shithouses as well. This is a very serious channel, of course. On that note, I should give a shout out. I've neglected to do so thus far into the Fondue Lounge segment, but the Agitator, that's Agitator for Change, provides this comedic scene that you can see before you, which has been a regular feature on Sunday live streams on the show for a while now. Shout out to the Agitator at Agitate for Change. That's the number 4. Agitate for Change. Excellent satire, I have to agree. Plus we got a few other bits and pieces. I won't linger too long in the lounge here, telling you exactly everything that's coming up. Also the latest on Gaza, of course, I should point out, but we don't linger too long, because something else that lingers too long is, unfortunately, things that emanate from Margaret Hodge, so we'll try and dodge the air biscuits and make our excuses. See you soon, Keith. Okay, we'll catch up with Keith a bit later. Herbie, when you're ready, please, guys. Moshi, welcome to the chat, and Joe Costin as well, Red F, just joining us. You might have just missed the Starmer satire. You can skip back. Put it on 1.25 speed, whatever. I did say at some point I was going to do a segment using helium, didn't I? Just for anybody who watches back later on and watches at 1.5 or 2 times speed. But we do take another second visit to the lounge before we leave the Sunday live stream, so stick around for that if you did miss it. Kick off with a comedy clip though, as always, every Sunday. Another great one from Noreen Skinner, a new character actually, or maybe just one I've not come across before, but new to me, perhaps new to you as well. And I think there was, apologies, was there another gifted membership whilst we were in the lounge there? I think there was. James Holmes, thank you very much for that gifted membership. 107 we're on now. Thanks again, shout out to James Holmes, big up in the chat please people. Alright, let's go with Noreen Skinner, and this is some hot gossip. Some hot gossip from someone who has a lot of Labour MPs as customers. Let's see what's happening.
Hi, my name's Marnie, but you can call me Lisa. I'm a hairdresser, and I just want to say to all my fans out there that I've absolutely got some fantastic news to share with you about me in the salon. I actually can't believe what I'm about to tell you, but basically I've been keeping this under foils for a while now, but your little Lisa Lou is going all political. I was approached by the government, and I have been working secretly with the Labours to give them a glow up. The bag is out of the cat. At the time, I was tasked with basically making sure that I could give three ladies in Labour a new do. Now, I'll be honest with you, they didn't look pregnant to me, but you know, each to their own, everyone does it differently. But they also are 70 years old, I'd say. So it's quite old to be a mum. But anyway, who am I to judge? Because at the end of the day, I've changed their lives. Get this, one of them is probably going to be the next deputy head teacher. So that means that the level of fame is like exponential. Also, gossip, I get to go to number 10. Now, I didn't even know what that was. I thought that was just another word for like a bowel movement or something that was really bad. Anyway, so without further ado, oh wow, I didn't even realise I did that. I'm going to be starting with my first client. I've been working with Bridget Phillipson, didn't even know who she was, but she basically wanted something really classy and unique. So I've gone with this little number. Yeah, doesn't she look good? She's really going to stand out, I think, against all the MPs. Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know, MP stands for most popular. Next up, we've got Lucy Powell. Now, again, I've never heard of her before, but she really wanted to like shine and have her star quality come out. I think probably because she just wanted to be that bit different to Bridget. Oh, competition. Anyway, don't get me, I'm just a hair messenger. Anyway, I gave her this sleek, gorgeous number. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I mean, there's no way on this earth that you could even compare these two very individual people. Last but not least, we've got the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. Now, gossip, okay, apparently she's been getting like a load of hate. People are not liking her, apparently. Apparently she's like really boring, she can't handle her money, she can't talk properly. But can I just say, like, I do not know that woman, but from what I know, she definitely can handle her money, because she actually paid me double what she should have done. Apparently she hadn't even realised. I mean, how nice is that? She even did that with her coffee as well. Like, she just like rinses her money, you know, and I don't think any bad politician would do that. It's like, she obviously cares. Also, she said to me, I just want people not to see that bad stuff. I want people to see the real me and be like so surprised and just have such a good appearance that people forget all that stuff. So I went for something drastically different. Da-da! So, as you can see, these three ladies are now sleek, vibrant and unique. I mean, there's no way any of them aren't going to stand out for their originality. So, all that needs to be said from me is you Labours, have fun with your pregnancies. Anyway, I've got to go because I've got a new client just coming in. He's called Nigel Farage. Never heard of him, but apparently he wants to reform. So I'm going to give him a right good do. See you, fans.
Noreen Skinner there, definitely worth a follow. Go and subscribe, fellow YouTuber. What's going on with the chat there? There we go. It's been a bit fuzzy. Yeah, follow on all those social media platforms that you just saw there, as well as YouTube. Noreen Skinner, Nerine. What a range as well. Great range, does a whole host of characters. My personal favourite is her Rachel Reeves. I think there'll probably be another good one with Rachel Reeves coming up post budget. What's that, about 5 weeks? 5 weeks down the road?
Have you lost control of your MPs, Prime Minister?
Good point as well about the haircuts that she made. Well, I guess we'll get on to the first topic, which does feature the leadership race, the deputy leadership race, I should say. Lucy Powell was actually elected. Bridget Phillipson was the front runner for quite a while, but it's Lucy Powell who's come out on top, and almost a like-for-like replacement. You do have to say they've replaced a female Mancunian class traitor with a Mancunian female class traitor, Lucy Powell, who's the subject of tonight's poll on the stream. You might have noticed that as you joined us. Please do share your opinion on this subject. How long do you think Lucy here, Manchester Central, which isn't far away from where this stream's coming to you from? Well, I know I say that every time Manchester comes up. But 38% of you at the moment think she'll only last 0 to 6 months. Excuse me. 25%, 7 to 12, 19% of you think 1 to 2 years, and also 2 years or more. So not too optimistic at the moment. Left of the box joining us as well. Nice to see you on the stream. On Politics Clive. Okay, so will this be particularly significant for UK politics or the Labour Party? Let's see what's happening. They point out the Manchester Central MP defeated Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson by promising to give grassroots members a louder voice and push for a course correction in government. Well, of course, all the proper grassroots members have left by now in droves. There's only the ignorant people who were parachuted in left. I don't know, I guess the politically naive and a few still institutionalised members and supporters. As far as canvassers, campaigners, the real people who used to be at the beating heart of the Labour Party, they're certainly all fucked off now. Including a lot of people who I know personally and used to campaign with for the Labour Party when they actually had something decent to say. But here we are now in 25, and this is the situation. A very low turnout of 16.6%, which begs the question, just how many members does Labour have left? $87,407 votes. which was nearly 14,000 ahead of Phillipson. But again, that turnout, 16.6%. Yes, it's a deputy leadership race. But you'd think that position is something that members would have a vested interest in. Do they just not care, anybody who's left? As in, anybody who remains in Labour, not anybody who is on the left, not socialists, of course. They packed up and left long ago. We're all more than aware of that. I'm sure that there are former Labour members and campaigners here in the chat on the stream. What a shame. But for what it's worth, she says, I'll be a champion for our Labour values and boldness in everything we do. And I know that you, Keir, as our leader, want that, and I will be your ally in that fight, she said in her acceptance speech. Trying to take out reform, trying to take on reform. It just sounds like the same old, really. She's not going to drag the party back to its grassroots by any means. This is just optics. This is just for damage control, I guess, damage limitation, given the mass exodus away from Labour. Many people joining the Greens, your party. At a local level, at a council level, you're seeing a large amount of defections at the moment. There isn't a week goes by in the UK where you don't hear about one defection. You're still getting some, although less frequently, some defections from the Tories to Reform still, but by and large, these defections are coming from Labour and towards your party and the Green Party. So do keep your votes coming in on that poll. But like I said, a like-for-like swap. A female Mancunian careerist for another female Mancunian careerist. Not just class traitors, like I said earlier, in the sense that technically, I guess you have to accept, from a social standpoint, by default, automatically, as soon as anybody is elected to Parliament, they technically become a member of the upper classes, even though the House of Commons bears that name, Commons, which suggests, of course, lower ranking in class status. But it automatically puts them in the top 5% of earners in the UK. And they become they have the title of Member of Parliament, MP. So yes, technically they become part of the lower upper class in that sense. But in terms of actually representing where you come from, we saw how Angela Rayner sold out around the time of the leadership election when Starmer took over from Corbyn, who of course purged and it was corporate gifts, that sort of thing from then on. I guess Powell is so happy because she's probably now gone up a rung in terms of that kind of access. How many houses is she going to turn out with in however long she's got as deputy leader? In Angela Rayner's case, who was resigned to the backbenches and just last week quit, her running total on properties was 3. Let's see if Lucy Powell can keep up with that. Let me know your thoughts about that topic in the chat, especially if you're from Manchester or the Northwest, which is where this channel is broadcasting from this evening. This hot debate about the genuity of Zach Polanski's socialism, I can see that being brought up in the chat. I will get onto that on the stream. No, I'm normally good at sniffing out shite hawks, if you'll allow me a slightly immodest moment. But, for example, what happened with Keir Starmer, I saw coming down the road, did try to raise concerns. I don't like having the told you so plaudits, because that often leads to negative circumstance, with Keir Starmer's leadership being a classic example. But where Zach Polanski is concerned, do I have any inklings? Are there any signals, indicators early on into his leadership? I'll get onto that, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for your comments as well on that recent video. Hope everybody watches to the end as well, because I've noticed a few comments. Perhaps people didn't watch to the end. I do mention your party as well, fleetingly, at the end. Yeah, we'll get onto that. We'll get onto that shortly. Just after a few other bits of UK politics, which we'll dive into for some clips coming up now. Appearances on Laura Kussenberg. We're going to take a deep dive into this Sarah Porchin Ferrari, if you'd like to call it that. She's been caught out as a racist. Tried to deny it. It's almost like it's a running contest at the moment for who can say the worst things during Talk TV or whatever it is, LBC, these kind of outlets, just to see what they can try and get away with, and then try and say that people are attacking free speech if of course they're criticised for it. But there's no room for racism as far as free speech is concerned. Free speech doesn't include hate speech, and racism certainly comes into that remit. So let's get into this one, people. We're going to rip the lid off of this one.
It's time to rip the lid off of it!
And here's the offending clip that we're going to be referring to, if you've not seen this one yet, a couple of days ago, concerning TV advertising in the UK. And this isn't doctored or anything. Yes, she actually said this, and it is in the context that you think it is, despite what she's trying to roll back on and claim at the moment. But check this out, people. This is disgusting.
It drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, you know, people that basically are anything.
What's wrong
other
with that,
than
Sarah?
white.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it doesn't reflect our society, and I feel that, you know, you're...
In what way does it not we have a very diverse society here in Britain, in the UK. That's something that we should be particularly proud of. And as I pointed out on social media myself, she's probably halfway through a second bottle of wine or something, flicking through channels, the adverts come on, and she'd probably come across an advert for a foreign airline or something like that. I think Air Emirates was the one I used in the example in my social media post. And obviously, Air Emirates being a Middle East-based company, they're going to have Middle Eastern people on the airlines and represented in their advertising. Something like that, I'm thinking, as an example. And she's, oh, look at them. They're all, look at this, you know, this stuff in them. She's trying to imply that the adverts are being stuffed full of token minorities, which is higher than the proportion of said minorities within society. But I think it's relative to whatever you're advertising, and there's nothing wrong with seeing diversity in advertising whatsoever. Do you know how difficult it is, for example, if you're a minority race actor in the UK, to actually get a good steady gig, to actually make money? You could be very talented. I'm sure that we've seen, or not seen in fact, many talented actors or actresses not get roles based on the race, and people on the right, that is, like to argue over what gender Doctor Who is, as well as fans of the show, obviously, you have to concede. But, yeah, what colour a character is, should there be a black James Bond, this kind of stuff, these kind of non-debates, really. But this is taking it too far, way too far.
Your average white person, average white family is, like, I agree with you, Stuart, not represented anymore.
There aren't any white people on the TV, she's trying to say, and it's the old, it's the strangers in our own land bullshit again. But she's now tried to say that was taken out of context. I don't think I have to play that back to you. Like I said, I've probably seen it quite a few times already, but you get the context of what she was saying. Just a moment, people. I need to wet my whistle. A disgusting ghoul indeed. Idiosyncrasy, quite correct there. Davinia racist. Davinia Robbins, she is a racist, clearly, from those sentiments. Like I said on Twitter or Blue Sky, or both, whichever it was, in response to that, these are the kind of dickheads who call cancel culture, they cry cancel culture, that is, when old adverts get, air quotes, cancelled, they just become outdated, essentially. For example, if anyone's familiar, where's the music? For anyone who's familiar with an old soft drink advert for a soft drink called Umbongo, if you've ever seen that clip. And it was essentially the classic racist trope, Africophobic, air quotes, gollywog character in the jungle, and this tribal music going along to it with a song and things like that. And there was I can't remember the brand. There was a brand of jam that used the same character as well, and obviously that came out of fashion. These are the kind of dickheads who complained about that sort of thing. They want to see those good old-fashioned racist stereotypical tropes back on TV, at the same time as not wanting to see diversity on television. So make your fucking minds up. They contradict themselves. Where that particular comment is concerned, like I said, she's trying to reel back, but take a look at this when it was put to the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Phillip, on Kussenberg earlier today. And then, within hours, said the complete opposite. So this is what he said at first. Take a look at this, people. Now let's rip the lid off of this thing.
It's time to rip the lid off of it!
No, I don't agree with her. But I do think, and I wouldn't use that language.
But is it racist language? Sorry, it's a very straightforward question. Is
I'm not.
Say that?
I'm not calling her racist. No, but I do think there are legitimate concerns the public have about mass migration that need to be addressed.
And that's a separate point. But forgive me, I'm asking you a straightforward question. Is it racist?
I've answered it 3 times already.
Well,
no, it's not. I have not called her racist.
I'm not asking you to call an individual fellow MP racist. I'm asking you if, in your view, it is a racist sentiment to say, I don't like seeing black or Asian people on TV.
I don't think that's language that politicians should use.
Okay, you've made it clear you're not going to say whether or not you believe that's a racist sentiment, and that's you're right in that.
We've seen a few moments later.
A few moments later.
Should not have said.
Yeah, I'll get onto this in a moment, but that, directly avoiding the question, people have legitimate concerns, This, we went through all of this before. It's been going on for some time when they don't want to say that something is racist. This goes back to, many examples of comments made about Sadiq Khan, for example, to name just one. Very cowardly, they're not to come out and call that racist. Of course, the Tories still think that they have a fighting chance of winning back voters from Reform, and that's probably the reason why he initially chose not to correctly call that out as racist. But then, as you see here, on Times Radio coming up again, like they did on the last stream, but just a few moments later...
That in the way she said it, that was completely wrong.
But is there a question?
And yes, it was racist, the way she said it.
It was racist.
It was racist. He says it's racist now because someone's had a word in his ear. No, even she has come out and tried to apologise. So that news didn't get through to him at first, I guess. But he'd been informed in, a very short amount of time. This is probably within 2 hours of the Kussenberg interview. A complete U-turn.
That's a racist sentiment, and that's you're right in that.
A few moments later.
Should not have said that in the way she said it, that was completely wrong.
But is there a question?
And yes, it was racist, the way she said it.
It was racist, clearly.
Please don't vote me out. Please don't vote me out. Oh, it was just a bit racist. Or shouldn't have said it in the way that she said it. No. Outcry. No. Dramatic. Oh, this was unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. The way that they get on other issues. No. And, sorry, I'll just play the last part again. The way he was sitting as well, this is like someone who's been dragged into the headmaster's office or something like that. Sorry, I'm really sorry I didn't acknowledge it in the first place. Sorry. Yeah. Fucking tosser. Absolute tosser.
You know, why don't you shut your mouth, you filthy piece of trash? You should go back to prison where every pervert can pass you around for cigarettes.
One of the other guests on Kussenberg was Secretary of State for Health and yada yada yada. West Streeting, Wesley. You're right. It's me, with Streeting. Basically lying through his teeth on Kussenberg, saying, oh, the NHS is safe in my hand. I'm not going to do the voice. Yeah, but just ignore the fact that he's receiving donations from private healthcare firms. The National Health Service is in good hands with Wesley. Let's see what he had to say on Kussenberg.
You described that as a Hartlepool moment for Keir Starmer, referring to when he lost a by-election in 2021 and he...
This is also a discussion about that Caerphilly by-election in Wales. I should point out you can see the result there at the back. Labour with just 11% of the votes.
Thought about resigning. Why are things so bad? That's a shocking performance.
So I do think we need to react to this result in the way that we did Hartlepool, which is firstly to acknowledge the scale of the result and the message that voters have sent. The worst thing you can do after a result like this is pretend the voters were sending a different message.
No, Wesley, even from a political point of view, you don't want to do the same, because at every hurdle in the 15 months that they've been in power, everything that's held them, they've doubled down on how closely they're trying to match reform. They've leaned further to the right. They're dragging the party into neoconservatism, neoliberalism, this attempt at populism and xenophobia, with the focus on migration being the main rhetoric. That's what got you here in the first place. The people of Caerphilly came out that they totally reject that, voted en masse to make sure that reform didn't get in. And you don't even take the hint that that kind of politics, that right-wing fascist politics, just isn't welcome in this country. And you're wearing a poppy though, Wesley. I would politely remind you the true meaning behind Lest We Forget. I go into that in a bit more detail on another recent video about Keir Starmer welcoming fascist hooligans into this country. Is that what we really want to do at this time of year, when we're supposed to not only honour the memory of people who gave their lives for this country in those 2 world wars, but the message that fascism should never rear its ugly head again in this country or anywhere else around the world? That's what the poppy means. Graham, thank you very much for that super chat. Let's show that some appreciation. Thank you very much for your long-term support as well. Please do big up Graham Turner in the chat, please, everybody. Awesome person, regular viewer. And you're very welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome. Just need to wet my whistle here. I was going to go off on one there about the poppy thing. There was something else as well. Yes, out and about earlier on, you might have noticed poppy stands have started to appear recently, of course, as they always do this time of year. But the one I passed was playing music. You don't often see that. But just as I walked past, obviously, I recognised the music. And I was, for the next probably 5 minutes, preoccupied. My mind was preoccupied as I continued to walk with why they chose this particular song on the playlist. So as I was walking past, it was the theme tune to Indiana Jones. So obviously supposed to be playing somewhat patriotic music, maybe a bit of, I don't know, from that Vera Lynn or something like that, you know, We'll Meet Again or something like that, or one of the old Showtime tunes, maybe the theme tune to Dad's Army or something. But Indiana Jones, again, my point, made quite a big deal out of not liking Nazis and beating up fascists in 2 of the films. So again, this appropriation of things like Remembrance Day from the far right and the poppy, I really, really do hate that. I really do hate that. The fake patriotism, I think, is one of the most infuriating elements of the right that they try and seize on the poppy at this time of year. Okay, carry on, Wesley, you big pile of shite.
And you've got to take it on the chin. The second thing we've got to do is take it to heart. And in the aftermath of the Hartlepool by-election, which, similar to Caerphilly, was a place that supported Labour through thick and thin.
100 years.
Caerphilly supported Labour for over a century. The way to respond to that is the way that Keir responded to Hartlepool.
What, think about resigning?
No, quite the opposite. No, thank goodness he didn't, by the way. Because actually what he did was to say the Labour Party has not changed sufficiently and it's not changing fast enough. So he went more aggressively...
it is changing, but just not in the right direction. There's no way, there's not an ice cube in hell's chance that it's going to go back to democratic socialist roots. Unless you're going to see the complete capitulation of the bastards in the shadows who really have the hands on the strings, the Blairs, the Mandys, the Alistair Campbells of the world of spin and whatnot. These people are still buried in like a tick, and their influence does stretch across the Parliamentary Labour Party as well as the CLP and the NEC. So don't come that with we can go back now, because let's not forget Starmer was leader for 4 years before he won the election, and in that time a lot of the FBPE people or whatever, with the delusion that he'd perhaps send us straight back into the EU, which I perhaps would have liked to have seen, but realistically knew wouldn't happen. What was my point? Sorry. My point there. Sorry, I got a bit lost on a tangent there. My point is, with Blair and Mandy and Alistair Campbell and whomever, they're completely deluded. Those who said he's playing 5D chess, which was a term being thrown about at the time, but completely deluded that it's going to return to that democratic socialist form, because Clause 4 went a long time ago. The word democratic socialist was excluded from the Labour playbook, and I think that even happened back in the 1990s, a short time after Tony Blair got in, and that's something that he and Mandy and Brown had been working on for some time. That was when this major lurch into neoliberalism first started with the Labour Party. Here we are, almost 30 years later.
And went more boldly to reform the Labour Party so we could win a general election that no one thought he could win. Now we've got to do the same in the wake of Caerphilly.
But what does that mean? Because those are rhetorical words.
Well, maybe Laura Kussenberg's finally woken up. Why wasn't she pointing this out before they got elected? Yes, of course, it's Lino. Just winning the election is not one thing. It's how you are going to govern is the thing. The Loveless landslide, as it was, isn't, something that gives you lots of bragging rights. This isn't football rules within politics. Not that, we won the Premier League with our new manager. No, it's not that kind of thing at all. He lied through his teeth. And if you've got enough money, I guess anyone can win an election by lying through the teeth. That is the state of affairs. If you have enough money and power and influence, because that is what it is all about at the end of the day, getting elected. But at the back end, if you renege on every single promise that you've made to the public, to your members, to your campaigners, to your supporters, then what good is an election win in the first place? Yeah, you won, and now you're hated, and your polling is the lowest ever. You're losing members in droves. You're seeing parties that you used to smirk and sneer at now getting towards your membership level, seceding the Tories, getting level with you in the polls. That's the real consequence of the great win. But they probably just look at themselves in the mirror every morning and go, well, at least we won back in 24. Wesley.
But shut up, Wesley.
What does that mean? Because we've already heard from this still quite young government plenty of occasions where you've said, we're going to listen and learn and do things differently. That's what happened after the welfare vote when you ditched those reforms. That's what's happened after the winter fuel payment. What's actually going to be different?
Yeah, I think it's about having a bold and values-driven agenda. So on the NHS, for example, we set out only on Friday the most radical and ambitious plan for reform of the NHS in years. So over the next few years, we will get waiting times back to 18 weeks. We will make sure that people can get same-day emergency.
You're going to cook the books, you're going to cook the books. All these claims they're already making about the NHS and waiting lists, for example, have already been proven to be fake stats. They're just going to carry on cooking the books. And he's getting back palms of tens of thousands of pounds from the private lobbies. So who do you think he's actually going to want to listen to and represent? Who's your daddy, Wesley? It's not the National Health Service. It's private healthcare firms.
And urgent appointments. And we will also make sure that people can book all of their appointments online to bring the NHS into the 21st century. Now, in terms of the values that we bring to doing that, we will do...
And that term as well. Bring the NHS into the 21st century. Well, if you're talking about efficiency with, booking appointments online, that's not going to suddenly magic up a whole bunch of extra GPs or nurses or doctors who can treat them. Because that is really where the essence of this problem lies, is in the recruitment. You have to get out there as well and boldly acknowledge that leaving the European Union was detrimental to that, and something that needs resolving immediately, because with it taking around 6 years to train a medical professional, or sometimes longer depending on what field you're going into, you can't exactly just roll them off the conveyor belt the same way, no offence, obviously. Society needs everybody working together, but the same way that you can train somebody who works in retail, for example. These are people's lives that we're dealing with, not just people who sell you fast fashion or whatever your favourite capitalist outlet is. So yeah, Wesley, please do address the real problem, because it won't really make that much of a lick of difference just giving people the ability to book online, which I think in a lot of cases you can already do anyway, can't you? What you need is to reduce the marketisation of the NHS, the way that it's been decimated, cut up into tiny pieces. It buys and sells from itself, and because it has these individual markets, they can then be sold off in chunks, as opposed to selling the NHS off wholesale, which of course would cause a massive outcrying from the public. So that's how they do it, is by stealth.
So in a way that is modernising and reforming, but defends our Labour values and defends this country's values of an NHS that's free at the point of use, available to all, owned by all. What a contrast to our opponents in reform that would dismantle the NHS and replace it with an insurance system. And that's the values-based argument we need to take on to change our country and to see off reform at the next general election.
And just last...
He's lying. He's lying. And, well, the polls show just how badly Labour are doing at keeping reform at bay. I've got one of the latest polls, actually, coming up in a moment. That was awful from Wesley. With street in.
But shut up, Wesley.
Up next, we've got Zach Polanski. I'll just quickly play that clip that featured in the last video on the channel. His appearance on Sky News. And then getting into, as I said earlier, this wedge. Some people are trying to drive a wedge between Green Party and the UK. I'll point out where there are differences, even by their own admission, as you're going to see in what's now turning into a series of sort of call and response clips, not like diss tracks or anything like that, in a positive sense, in the sense that they're saying they do want to work together, but they do have differences on these particular issues that they're going to go into. But first of all, I think Zach Polanski, whatever you think about him, and again, his genuity as a socialist is how genuine he is. But you can't deny what he says about the Labour Party here in this interview. Completely dunks on Keir Starmer and the direction that he's taken Lionel. By the way, Zach Polanski does approve of My Left Eye, as you can see here.
You'll be aware that there'll be people that say, well, hang on a sec, Zach, you know, if you want to challenge the surging popularity of reform, if you want to kind of continue to push against the Conservatives, then are you at risk of fracturing the left? What would you say to those people that say, hang on a second, like the best way to counter this maybe is, with all due respect, Labour, because it's established and much, much bigger, rather than the Greens?
Well, the idea that the Labour Party are on the left is completely incoherent. This is a party that have done everything they can to protect power and wealth in this country and to appease Nigel Farage. Not only is it an unethical strategy, it's a completely absurd one too. If people wanted low-fat Nigel Farage, they would vote for Nigel Farage, not Keir Starmer. And history has shown us time and time again that if a Prime Minister or someone who wants to pretend they're on the left constantly appeases the right by talking about Island of Strangers, by extending indefinite leave to remain, by protecting the wealth of the super rich, all that happens is people laugh at them and they go and vote for the right anyway. What the Green Party are doing is saying not just to people on the left, but frankly anyone in this country that wants a politician and a politics that is not in vested interests, that is not in the pockets of the corporations who are destroying our environment, destroying our democracy and destroying our communities, but a party that genuinely serves people, that stands for people rather than profit, then that party is the Green Party. And my only sole mission is to make sure that people have an alternative, that we can make hope normal again. So it's not for me to say to people, don't vote Labour because you're going to split the vote. It's Labour's job to offer a better solution. I think they're way past that point. People have lost complete trust in them. And that's why I don't intend to be concerned by Labour or disappointed by Labour. In May's local elections right across England and Wales, including in the Senate, we intend to replace Labour at the ballot box.
Laying down the gauntlet there and not holding back. Well, I guess he wants to make the most of the progress that they've made so far, and why not? Why wouldn't he? A good response there from Zach Polanski. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on that, please do check out the latest video on the channel. Give it a share around your social media, please, if you can. Do give us a boost. Yes, this message is it's approved by Zach Polanski on Blue Sky, as you can see there on our My Left Eye UK account. Okay, so the Green Party, your party, what's the difference? What are some of the obvious differences at this point? First of all, going to hear from Zara Sultana, who tries to highlight the difference between the stance on Gaza. Zara Sultana herself, personally, has come out as an open anti-Zionist, and that is very probably going to be the direction that your party are going to be heading in as well. So that's one of the main differences. She is saying that apparently within the anti-Zionist are also perhaps hints of one-state solution, whereas she thinks that by trying to work with Israel, which Zach Polanski seems to be trying to do, that would be working towards a two-state solution. So that's the main difference there. Also, you're going to see in this clip, he hasn't directly come out as an anti-Zionist, but you can take a look for yourselves. What do you make of this, Zara Sultana?
We will work together when it comes to defeating Reform and Nigel Farage and stopping him from getting the keys to Downing Street. And that is very important because we need to work with many allies to stop that from happening. But we are fundamentally different. We are a class-based party who isn't shy about talking about class politics. And I've seen interviews where, there's this idea that people are turned off by class politics, and that isn't true because people see class war when their bills rise, but energy companies are recording record profits, and they see class war when landlords hike their rent without a second thought, and people face eviction, yet bankers are bailed out, and they see class war when the 50 richest families in this country hold more wealth than half the population. So we are embracing class war, and this time we want and plan to win it. And fundamentally, I think it is the politics of anti-Zionism that is a key difference. After 2 years of genocide and of seeing an Israeli government that basically has not been held to account, we cannot have diplomatic relations with a genocidal apartheid state. And that is really important because most people who have seen the bloodshed, the suffering, the starvation, understand that this isn't business as usual anymore with Israel. And so the Greens believe that we can have diplomatic relations with Israel, and we think that is not okay and acceptable, and we must sever all diplomatic ties. And then, of course, there is the point around NATO as well. And I think at the heart of that is the politics of anti-Zionism and anti-imperialism. But it's key to work together where we can, but we have to be honest about our differences too.
Shout out to Politics Joe as well, conducted that interview there with Zara. But she did mention towards the end NATO. Just wanted to point out as well, if you remember during Zach Polanski's leadership election speech, there was quite a response to this. Openly declared the policy of the decriminalisation of drugs. So as a sort of response to that, like I said, there's been this sort of call and response thing going on between the Greens and your party. Almost immediately after that, Zara Sultana announced that they were going to be campaigning to leave NATO. So again, trying to keep up pace with the Greens, who have obviously accelerated since Polanski, excuse me, not the mic, took over. And I'd like to know what you think about what she said there about those differences surrounding policy on Gaza, around anti-Zionism as well. Because at the moment, and like a few of you were saying in the chat as well, this is very early days. Where your party are concerned, it's very early days where Zach Polanski's leadership's concerned. And these sort of things have almost been sort of born at the same time. But the fighting ground at the moment appears to be largely over Gaza. I mean, what are the Greens up to now? 140,000 members. I can't remember the last time I saw an update from your party on their membership, but that's still getting into the tens of thousands, isn't it? As far as I know. Idiosyncrasy, good point there. I think, yeah, in terms of public response, well, we already have seen, since these were both almost simultaneously announced, we saw a lot more said about Zach Polanski's decriminalisation of drugs than Zara Sultana's let's get out of NATO. Good point there, Mo, as well. Yeah, we must avoid is infighting between your party and Green Party members. It won't advance the issues that we care about. They should ultimately be trying to work together, decide which party will put which left-wing candidate in which seat, because there should only be one that everybody can go for, I guess. So let's see Polanski's response to that.
I really like Zara and Jeremy both on a personal level and a political level. In fact, I've done so many panels with Zara recently. I've seen her more than I've seen my own boyfriend. We're just constantly in organising circles together. People expect me not to want them to set up, but actually I can be much more transparent than that. You'll know this, Maddie, when you're on a TV panel, you're often the voice of the left, and then you're up against 3 or 4 people. And supposedly
always.
It's a spectrum of views, but actually they're in the exact same place. So if there are more people in the political kind of space who are saying similar things to what I am and campaigning on the same issues, then I welcome that, whether it's from the Green Party or not.
Yeah, Zach appears to be thinking on a more macro scale there. They're not going to be exactly the same, but ultimately they're both trying to give people an option, a socialist option, on the ballot, and represent citizens more than corporations. They both do, of course, call for full sanctions, full trade embargo with Israel. So trying to focus on the positives, as well as looking at things in a broader sense there, perhaps. Zach Polanski, as long as they're taking on the right, whether that is the Tories reform or Labour lino, then yeah, they can keep it up as they both respectively rise in the polls and membership. And of course, established forces would love to drive a wedge between the two parties, but let's not get factional here, people. Let's stand in solidarity with one another, and that is how we fight the right. That is how we defeat the fash. If they can do it in Caerphilly, they can do it anywhere, people. It was played Kim Roo's 15th attempt. It just goes to show, you know, if you get behind someone, you can make a difference. Yeah, well, that's a whole other kettle of fish there about NATO dragging us towards World War III, and you have to directly bring the Russia-Ukraine conflict into that, for example. That would be a massive tangent, so maybe save that for another stream. Okay, people, excuse me one moment, just gonna grab a quick drink here, reload my beverage. I'll get on to another couple of topics in a moment. In the meantime, though, please make sure you've filled out the poll. I'll just take a quick look at that. You can see 48% of you think Lucy Powell will only last 6 months or less. 24% 7 to 12 months. 14% 1 to 2 years, and again 14% for 2 years or more. That remains to be seen. I'll be right back with you in just a short moment, people. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, and we're back. Just finally on UK politics, what does all this mean for the polls? And I've referred to a lot of the polling recently. For what they're worth, you do have to take some of them with a pinch of salt. Let's always remind ourselves of that. But Reform still with a clear lead overall. Labour projected to lose 319 seats, down to 92. Wow. Just marginally in front of Lib Dem. I've seen another one in the last week where Labour were down in third. I think Labour in third is going to be a phrase that we're going to have to get used to in the next few years, people. SNP still looking likely to hold on to their resurgence. Like I said in the video about that Caerphilly by-election, there's not a country in the UK now that the government, that Labour still have a grip over, or even a 50-50 two-horse race situation. You can see here clearly behind in England with all of that light blue, unfortunately, peppering the land. Most of the Lib Dem vote going in the southwest and areas of Wales. But as well as the dark green of Plaid Cymru, you can see the light green of the Green Party there, and according to this they'd gain 8 seats, putting them up to 12. No accounting for your party, the Workers' Party of Britain, at the moment on this one, but another 11 seats for independent independent candidates, many of whom I think would be on the left. So that's the current picture at the moment from YouGov polling between 19th and 20th of October this year. Stats for Lefties bringing us those. More socialist resurgence. I think we'd all like to see. I can't get my words out tonight. What's going on? I am drinking tea, I assure you. Stu, good to see you. Yeah, please do make sure that you've selected live chat instead of top chat. That way you see everybody's messages. Top fans, what's going on with top fans as well? Not even mentioned that so far on the stream. Graham Turner sitting top of the pile there with Idiosyncrasy in second, Edward Sexby in third. Currently on top fans. Latest on the poll, 43% now think that Lucy Powell will last 6 months or less. Not looking too optimistic for the new Deputy Prime Minister at the moment. Yeah, let's keep this going, people. Hopefully changes in the air and we can seize the day. Could be the chance of a generation. Can you dig it, people?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
couple of other stories here, just at random, in no way connected to one another. I hope not, anyway. But the first one, yeah, just going back to housing and Starmer's 1.5 million homes pledge. And 15 months in, still really not seeing a lot of action where that's concerned. However, on the other side of the world, in China, I don't know if you saw this one, people, but take a look at it. Don't worry, it's time-lapsed. But they have broken the record for construction of a 10-storey apartment building, fully functioning, wired up, plumbed up, etc., in just 28 hours, just over 28 hours. I don't know if you've seen this one going around social media recently, but just absolutely incredible. Similar to the railway system here in the UK, it goes to show how far behind we are in certain areas that other countries are accelerating in. And where the East is concerned, Japan is obviously famous for its high-speed rail. China, famous for how quickly it advanced its rail network. And now this in housing construction. Take a look, it's absolutely incredible, this time-lapsed footage. There's a counter there on the left, you can see that's in hours. 3, 4 hours, 5 hours. Just 28, just over 28 hours it's going to take. Look at that there, even as they're constructing the middle and upper floors, workers are already starting to do the electrics, the plumbing, painting, decorating. And we're talking fully decorated, fully furnished houses here with white goods, furniture, etc. You'll see at the end of the video, this is on 23 hours. 23 hours in, and it's already 10 stories high. They're just putting the finishing touches to it using 3 cranes. Obviously a lot of it's prefab, but it just all clicks together, and they don't have to take so much time waiting for one area of construction to finish before they move on to another, stepping on each other's toes. Electricians, plumbers, painters, that sort of thing. So it really is incredible. I've muted the audio because there was some sort of background promotion music. Don't know if it was copyrighted. I didn't want to take a chance, so here you are as they just finish off the roof. 28.45 hours, just shy of 28.5 hours, from literally nothing to a fully functioning, decorated 10-storey building. And look at the interior here, people. Look at the insides. These aren't slums. We're not talking about the communal blocks of the 1970s and the 1980s here in the United Kingdom. Take a look at this. Fully modern, very spacious. Look at that. Bedrooms. That's from TRT World. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Have you ever seen anything like that? Anyone here in construction? If anyone works in construction, regular viewers on the channel, let me know. And obviously the lack of environmental impact compared to current construction methods as well. They'll start growing concrete next, won't they? That was amazing. That was amazing. That's one area that we're definitely very far behind in, you have to admit. In the meantime, the mainstream are busy arguing over whether this is an enemy of the state. based. And we do trade with China, of course, but surrounding this, that spy case that collapsed, it was where China's concerned. I just think it's rank hypocrisy where we're trading on a massive scale with a country that we're also having the goal to try and declare as an enemy of the state for whatever reasons of espionage. That's another matter though, just about that construction. It's 28.5 hours. Wow. Okay, the second clip is totally unrelated to this, should point out, to the previous one. Let's talk about enemies of the state. But did you see this from a Halloween party in America? Some douchebag think, oh yeah, let's go dressed as the SS. In fact, I do have a short bio of the offender, which I'm just going to prepare here while I play the clip. The clips, well, it's interesting for a few reasons. Whilst all of the dorky guys stand around and do nothing for the most part, in fact, two of them get distracted because they realise that they're part of the same class in college or whatever. But a group of ladies especially take offence. The guy who's dressed as SS then assaults one of them, and it kicks off. Well, keep your eye out for this one, people. You notice it at the end. It often happens, but at that point, it was the high heels immediately coming to hand. Anyone who's ever been in Manchester on a night out, and you've ever seen it kicking off wherever, that's usually a common method. The old high heels, yeah. But take a look at this. I mean, what a dickhead, you do have to say. What the SS did, no, it's not funny, a tongue-in-cheek Halloween joke. This sort of thing, it's just unacceptable. Let's take a look at this tosser. I'll give you the details first, actually, before we see the clip. This is in Georgia, Athens in Georgia specifically, and his name is Kenneth Leland Morgan, 33 years of age. He was arrested after this for assaulting the woman which you're about to see. What a fucking tosser.
Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out!
Don't touch him! Don't
touch me! Get the fuck out!
Don't touch him!
Fuck you! What the fuck?
Oh, I should warn you, there's a lot of foul language in this clip or some shit like that, whatever. Let's just get up, let's just get the fuck on with it.
He's in my... Yo! Are you in my accounting class? Yeah! What up, bro? What's good, bro? How are you? Look at this guy.
Like later when he's recounting this, so I was doing nothing while this guy dressed as the SS was getting kicked out of this bar, and all of my sentences sound like a question, and then I saw this guy from my SS class, or whatever it is. Like, seriously. It's like, yo, fucking hell. And then they just gawking at it, and not even stepping in. Even, like, quite, you know, tall, broad guys. I don't know how inclined you are to interject when you see this sort of thing going on in public. I certainly sometimes find it difficult to refrain, non-violently. Okay.
This is terrible. What the fuck is your problem? Is this serious?
Well, there is one guy there, you can hear him in the background, you know, the what's your effing problem guy. And he's, you know, the hat and everything and the armband with the you know what on. I don't know if you can say that word on a fucking live stream. Begins with S, ends with A. It's got a Z in it. Can you guess what it is? Send your answers into the live chat or in the comments if you're watching back later on. Here on the Anti-Fascist Sunday live stream on My Left Eye. It's Hugo Boss. Yeah, it's Hugo. It literally was Hugo Boss made the uniforms for the SS, didn't they? Also, that's where you get Fanta from. America still did dealings with Germany during the Second World War, and they rebranded the orange soda pop as Fanta, which is German for fantasy dream, and Hugo Boss as well. A lot of companies that are still big household names. So Coca-Cola are of course the umbrella company for Fanta, and they're also part of the DBS. For Israel now, what, you know, irony of ironies, that's Coca-Cola. Don't know about Hugo Boss, but it wouldn't surprise me if they ended up making uniforms for the IDF or something. Would it really shock you, given that example from history? What is happening? This clip. Well, whatever's happening, it has to stop, because they're not there filming a historical documentary or something like that. It's a guy who thinks he's clever, humour in very bad taste, turning up dressed as an SS officer. And now you're about to see assaults the lady there. Whilst this, you know, UFC fan, get out of the way, half-wits.
I don't know. I have no idea. We're seeing you on the second.
There, he hits her right across the face. You saw in that bit there.
No.
This is just right at the end. As I said, there you can see, you know what's about to happen next. The shoes come off. I don't know what happened preceding this outside of the fact that he was arrested. This dickhead, what's his name again? Kenneth Leyland Morgan of Athens, Georgia, currently sitting in jail. Oh, there's some arresting for below here. This is on a... In fact, I'll share this with you. Some of the arrest details here. Shout out to Harry Sisson for the information on this one. Looks like a total incel loser who feels very insecure and small. He should go to therapy instead of doing Nazi cosplay. He did a deep dive and found his booking info on the official Athens Clark County Sheriff's website. Good work, good investigative work there from Harry Sisson. Should try and perhaps recruit him into My Left Private Eye. I think this might be a clip from another point of view. Appears to be after this piece of shit hit that woman, and then he gets some back by the looks of it. Sorry, just gonna... Got to make a couple of adjustments here. If it'll let me. Sorry, this clip's not playing. Doesn't want to play. Literally and figuratively. That might just be a screenshot, actually, of another video. That's why it's not playing. But it looks as though he got some back. Is there any more? What else is in the comments? How to find Nazis. 1. Post fuck Nazis. 2. Watch for the don't call people you disagree with Nazis comments. Step 3. You found the Nazis. And then someone posts, you're so stupid. Found one. Ba-boom. Yeah, what a dickhead. Let me know what you think about that in the chat, please, people, or in the comments if you're watching back later on. Catch you later, Davinia. Thanks for joining us on the stream. Nice to see you as always. Quick update on the poll now, 44%. I think Lucy Powell will last 6 months or less. That's 12% in front of 7 to 12. And 12% bar. That's the latest update on the poll. But I did say that content provider there on Twitter will be good on My Left Private Eye. We're going to have a brief episode now. Like I said, just looking back on a former case, not on My Left Private Eye, but in terms of conspiracy and contradictions to the official story. Let's see what I mean in just a moment.
One more question, sir, about those sacks of gold.
Oh wow, a police chase!
We're coming in! Open this door!
Right, so I've mentioned a few times, I guess fairly recently, on live streams and maybe 1 or 2 videos, something that happened on September the 11th, 2001, and we all know the official story about that, the hijacked planes, etc. But something that I brought up a couple of times, something that can't be ignored, and directly contradicts the official narrative. Of course, something that can't be forgotten. Several people lost their lives on that day. The culprits do have to receive justice. Unfortunately, politically, those events were used by the United States to illegally invade Iraq. In the end, well, let's see what actually went down. if we take a look at this, and this is what I specifically referred to, the dancing Israelis. It was reported in the New York Times that a group of 5 men had set up video cameras aimed at the Twin Towers prior to the attack, and were seen congratulating one another afterwards. Multiple witnesses saw them jumping for joy in Liberty State Park after the initial impact, celebrating on a roof in Weehawken, and high-fiving in a New Jersey City parking lot. Within hours they were arrested by New Jersey police and eventually deported 10 weeks later on immigration violations. During an interview on Israeli TV, one of the group said, "Our purpose was to document the event," suggesting they had foreknowledge of the day's eventualities. No. That is some serious shit, people. But it's a bit of a snippet of an investigation clip I'm going to play here now. And if you've ever sort of researched what happened on September 11th, 2001, you might have come across a clip of apparently one of the hijackers on the radio calling down to air traffic controllers, illustrating the situation that they've hijacked some planes plural, and when you actually analyse that tape as a group of scientists have done, it turns out some pretty interesting revelations as well, that potentially, along with this information about the dancing Israelis, directs you towards the true culprits of the events of 9/11. Let's see what's happening, people.
The voice of the hijacker heard from the hijacked plane's voice recorder reveals that the accent of the hijacker matches an Israeli Hebrew accent.
The next transmission comes seconds later.
FBI Director Mueller, BBC News, and ABC have confirmed that 7 of the 19 Muslims whose mugshots were flashed around the world did not die in the 911 crashes. They are alive and well and are victims of identity theft. An 8th accused Muslim died 1 year before the 911 hijackings even occurred. Who stole their identities, and why isn't the FBI looking for them? If the hijackers really were Muslims, why would they steal the identities of fellow Muslims and implicate them? Wouldn't they be more likely to steal Israeli identities and put the blame on Israelis? If the hijackers were Israelis, wouldn't they be likely to steal the identities of Muslims and put the blame on Muslims?
I think the clip sort of finished prematurely there, apologies, but it obviously was going to say, wouldn't one side try and blame the other? Why would Israelis try and blame Israelis? But if it was Muslims who were blamed, there you go. It does make logical sense, as well as that evidence as well. You just need a good ear and experience with accents, and as well as that other evidence, it does become pretty clear. So yeah, just to look back, it's not exactly a hot case at the moment. But it's important to remember, I'm going to rip the lid off of this.
It's time to rip the lid off of it!
Sorry, it's a bit loud, that one, isn't it? So, make sure I turn that one down for next time. Sorry if I woke anybody up with that one. Just a quick one, like I said, but we'll be perhaps back through the week on the Brews at 10 or whatever with another episode of My Left Private Eye.
One more question, sir, about those sacks of gold.
Oh, wow, a police chase!
We're coming in! Open this door!
That was My Left Private Eye there. That's a legitimate segment, by the way. It's not just cheap filler to be able to segue into issues on Gaza, which is where we're going to go to next. And this is a very serious channel all about politics and society from a left-wing point of view, people. A very quick article first, just about it obviously ultimately concerns Gaza. But also Bob Vylan, who regular viewers and of course other audience members will be familiar with. However, British Airways have pulled a Louis Theroux podcast. They were sponsors of the show because Bob Vylan featured in an interview. That is the frontman Bobby Vylan of the two-piece UK punk outfit. Let's see what's happening there, people. I think that's set up. Yeah, so there you see, obviously famous documentarian and interviewer Louis Theroux, who recently made a video and interviewed illegal occupiers in Gaza. Some of those interviews extremely shocking. The mindset, the Zionist mindset, the institutionalization of these people, many of them even kids. Majority of the agitators, in fact, in the West Bank, are Israeli teenagers. So do check out his documentary on Gaza. But concerning this interview, just resize that. British Airways has paused its sponsorship. Pascal Robinson Foster, one half of the controversial punk duo, that's his real name, told Louis Theroux in an episode which aired earlier this week that he was not regretful of chanting "Death, death to the IDF" at this year's Glastonbury. Of course, we're all familiar with that. He said he would do it again tomorrow and twice on Sundays. British Airways said on Saturday that the content breaches its sponsorship policy and has since paused its advertising on the podcast. The Jewish News First reported. They said our sponsorship of the series has now been paused and the advert has been removed. It's only the same as like saying death to Nazis. Yada yada yada, more blah blah blah, blatant breaches. But he doesn't care, and he's shouted it again at other gigs I think I've shown segments of that on other content. Well, the band got the US visa revoked after the initial comments as well, but he just obviously doesn't care. The kickback, the pushback against this is very telling. Not just of which individuals and companies are sitting on the wrong side of history, but just how far the Israeli lobby influence can reach. I have to say, personally, I think Louis Theroux is quite a good interviewer. His style, I've perhaps commented a little bit about his style in his documentaries especially, and he's done them on a broad range of subjects and interviewed some very extreme members of society, all areas, in the States, including like the Ku Klux Klan, people like that, as I said, hardened Zionists in Gaza, celebrities, that kind of thing. But the way that he does it, he has this, especially when he's doing things in the States, it sort of has maximum efficacy, because he has this air of naivety about him in his questioning, as though he just landed on Earth yesterday, came down with the last drop of rain. He's just got this sort of, so what is, why do you wear these white hoods then? What do they call themselves? Is it Grand Elder? In the fucking fascists in the Klan. These are, what do they call themselves? There's a, is it Wizard or something? Grand Wizard. Grand Wizardy, fash, whatever. Just the way that he directs his questions, What's this thing here? It's a tree, He's not. I think he does it deliberately. He's very. He's not stupid. He's far from it. And it's almost like a. Well, it's not a character because he uses his own name, so you just have to put it down to a technique. It's modus operandi. Grand Wizard, is that, yeah, the Grand Wizards. Or whoever he's... Or, say, like, when he's in Gaza, he goes up to these Zionists. So, you think this is your house, do you? So why is this your house? He invites... He invites... condescendence, and if he comes across some particular piece of shit who's also accompanied by a massive ego and therefore sees themselves as by far the intellectual superior in the conversation, which they usually aren't, then they start to pour it on, and in pouring it on they expose themselves for whatever they accused of being. Illegal occupiers, racists, fascists, exploiters. He likes to exploit exploiters as well. Interesting comparison there, Morbius, to Sacha Baron Cohen, perhaps with the Borat character, I guess. Yeah, the way that he invited Islamophobia in the film, especially when he went to the States, and the rodeo scene as well, ended up getting the whole crowd to chant that anti-Semitic song, also exposing just how politically naive they are as well. And that took place during the height of the Iraq invasion as well, I think, if I work that out. Yeah. It's the cinema round on Get Your Memory Straight. The street interviews with Abby Martin in Israel as well, very eye-opening. Good point there, Edward. Yeah, check those out if you can. JK. Yeah, regarding his modus operandi. Very intelligent. Despite the sarcasm, he leaves enough leeway for viewers to make up their own minds. Very good at sort of teasing out people speaking their own minds as well. So just back to this article about British Airways. In a statement on Facebook, Bob Villan said, due to political pressure from the likes of Bridget Phillipson and groups in the northwest of England, we've had to reschedule our Leeds and Manchester shows. Yeah. All tickets remain valid and other shows are continuing as planned. I do actually know a few people who are planning on going to that. They're going to be gutted. He said he was taken aback at the uproar that the initial chant cause said it wasn't like they came off stage and everybody else gasped. They said it was just like normal. But yeah, it was the mainstream media who put this out, and then it was, oh, you can't have this going out live on the BBC now, we're going to have to set back Glastonbury performances. He did cuss and swear as well, but in terms of responsibility, where the BBC are concerned, if you're putting out footage of a festival live and you don't expect to hear swear words in between songs at least, if not during the content, depending on which, it's like they put Bob Villan on and didn't even know what they're about as a band, as a group, you know, for a start. But whether it's Bob Villan or anybody else, this is live music that we're talking about, live performances, and this isn't the 1960s or whatever, where you'd cause uproar if you swore on stage. It's to be expected, so the onus doesn't just lie on Bob Villan for that, because of course, especially groups in heavier genres, punk, rock, heavy metal, rap, grime, that sort of thing, yeah, it's going to be abundant with swear words. So they're the martyrs really for that lack of responsibility from the Beeb, as far as I'm concerned. And there they are again. Quite cowardly from British Airways. Let's call them out. On to more concerning Gaza now, people, and a lot of you will be aware that Ireland voted in its 10th president this week. Catherine Connolly won by a landslide, has always been an advocate for a free Palestine, and will continue to be as she presides over Ireland. Let's see a clip of Catherine, who is a socialist as well. I'd like to congratulate Catherine Connolly on her success.
The Palestine Authority have been very clear that Hamas will not be part of that new Palestine.
At what point
did Israel achieve its military objectives? When 20,000 were dead, when 30,000 were dead, you made the comment. So at what point, in your opinion, was the military objective reached?
If I can come back there, my point was if they were. It's horrific that it happened in the first instance.
I think we have to begin to question the military-industrial complex and its connections with everything. We have no choice but to do that. And I go back to what's happening in Gaza. We have lost count of how many people that are dead, men, women and children. We refer to them on the RT News. Dozens have died. This is the type of language we're using with a genocide unfolding before our eyes. And we have a duty to ask questions. Who's connected to what? Who's backing up this? How is this happening under our watch? And we can only do that if we take off the blinkers and recognise what's happening. And if we accept genocide as it's unfolding in Palestine, what are the consequences, not just for Palestine, but for humanity? Where do we go next?
I come from Ireland, a history of colonisation, and I would be very wary of telling a sovereign people how to run their country. The Palestinians must decide in a democratic way who they want to lead their country.
But after what happened on October the 7th, you think Hamas can have a role?
What happened on October the 7th, I'm on record for condemning. But history did not start on October the 7th. Of
course not.
Well, it's important to point that out and to look back on the history and the many, many atrocities committed by the Israeli government through their army. And so I don't think Keir Starmer should have any say about Hamas. It's up to the Palestinian people. What Keir Starmer and other countries should be doing is stopping the genocide. Absolutely calling out what it is, genocide, and using our voices to stop it.
I'm asking you this morning why you would say Hamas is part of the fabric of the Palestinian people.
I'll try and answer that for you as best I can. They were elected by the people the last time there was an election. Overwhelming support for them back in 2006 or 7. And they are part of the civil society of Palestine. We're reliant on them for figures in relation to the deaths.
Do you
that have
regard them
been
as a
backed.
terrorist organisation?
They are prescribed as a terrorist organisation.
Do you accept that? Do you agree with that designation?
That's the designation. Israel is acting as a terrorist state. Both have to sit down at some stage. I mean, let's look at what Israel are doing and call it out for what it is. They're absolutely out of control.
Catherine Conley there. Absolutely right. Israel are out of control. Here's another unfortunately shocking example of that. Around this time of year, Gazans normally enjoy their olive harvest, and this is a large part of their agricultural tradition. However, that invites an annual tradition of Zionist thugs who try and hijack, sabotage the harvests. You're going to see a shocking example of that here, unfortunately. Yeah, these bastards just act not only without an ounce of humanity, but also impunity as well. And it's shocking to see happen in the modern era.
أرضك أنا من أرضي بلقط شو إلك عندي قال ممنوع ممنوع ليش تنا ممنوع كل لا مش ممنوع اجي على أرضي أنا مش ممنوع بدي اجي على أرضي وكل يوم وقدام عينيك قال لا ممنوع اللي بيجي بنطخه طيب طخه الواحد يدافع عن أرضه مش عيب عشرة ينطق. خفت منكم لأني أنا أحق، بس أنا خفت لما صار الرصاص عليك زي رش المطر. أنا قلت استحالة تظلك طيب، استحالة. ما كله يرجع مشان الله، ترجع يا أحمد، ارجع.
علي من فوق تقول لي
ارجع مشان الله، أنت جاي تموت، ارجع.
قلبه تعبان وبجرجروا في هذا الحجار.
هذا أشير وأذكر على أنه خلال الحرب استشهد 34 عام قرار محكمة العدل الإسرائيلية.
Thanks for throwing up the flags and watermelons in the chat. Really do appreciate that as always. Viva Palestina.
خليه خليه هنا يا شباب.
ابعد لا تحذر عليك، ضاغط جوا. في صوت بالجرة يلا.
Yep, and if you fight back, then the military come and arrest you. That's if you don't get rounded on by a pack of these bastards who show how tough they are by taking on elderly women 10 to 1. Al Jazeera with that report there. Gruesome, isn't it? It's hard to find the words to describe that. Indefensible is the best one I can come up with at the moment, I guess. But yeah, it does make you feel sick. You're quite right there. Yora Gibson, nice to see you in the chat. Free Palestine and Lebanon, of course. Like I said recently, ever since this air quotes ceasefire, it's not a ceasefire, it's been broken already, of course. 36, over 50 times, I should say. But they'll immediately turn their attention to the West Bank and Lebanon, possibly Iran again as well. And that brings me on to the second comedy clip on the stream, which is someone I've not featured for a while on the show. This sketch more than does well to explain what's happening at the moment in Gaza. This is from comedian Nicole Jenis.
Well, the airport is full today. Next! Yeah, you. The Zionist, ethno-supremacist and racist standing there. Documents. How did you know? Well, you stink of war crimes and daddy issues. But I gave you Polish passport. Poland, huh? You people move like a virus through continents and act shocked when the world builds an immune system to parasites. Oh my god, Poland. Yes, but we have peace now. Ah, the peace. A piece of Gaza, a piece of West Bank, Syria, Lebanon, you know. But the only peace here, it's all of you pieces of shit. Now is ceasefire. Gaza will be forgotten. Forgotten? We are studying you like the primitive species that you are. Homo Zionist entitlus. Discovered in 1948 and still not extinct. We are filing your war crimes. A for apartheid, B for bombing babies, and C for crying, doing the both at the same time. Forgotten. We are saving your war crimes in the world's DNA. So every generation from now on will know what a monster looks like in HD. Again forgotten. We are mailing your crimes straight to history. Posted paid, address Dear Hell, new tenant incoming. Imagine a Nuremberg 2.0. Worse crimes and different uniforms. No. 9. The world will forget. I'm Polish. I'm Israeli chosen. I see you went to Thailand. My condolences, Thailand. You can't talk to me like this. We are facing problems. How can you face a problem when the problem is your face? It whistles, doesn't it? The wind when it blows through all that entitlement. You are disgusting. Disgusting. Oh, that's rich. Coming from a walking war crime. Coming from you is practically a compliment. You will be hearing from my representatives. From who? The International Union of Cowards and Warmonger Influencers? The $7,000 post ones? Tell them to bring tissues. Bye. Next! Please don't tell me that your passport counts with press release and body counts. Yeah, I know. We all hate them.
Nicole Jenis there, that's Jenes. Check out the channel and subscribe, fellow YouTuber. Ruthless anti-Zionist as well, as you can see from that clip. Good stuff. Not had Noreen on for a while. And apparently congratulations are in order. Got married this year, thanks for that info, Morbius. Already a fan? So that's the latest on Gaza. Unfortunately, little has changed despite however much Trump wants to try and gain some plaudits for a ceasefire that hasn't even really happened. More updates to come through next week on The Brews at 10, of course. Getting towards the end of proceedings here, but we will of course take a second customary visit into Keith's Fondue Lounge. Do stick around after we've been in for a second dose, if your digestive systems can sustain it. Double dose of fondue. Yeah, I'll be back through the week with Brews at 10. As I said, I'm just setting up a redirect, aka a raid. We'll see if there's any other fellow socialists about. Thanks a lot for joining me on the stream this Socialist Sunday, though. Stay put. I'll find you some more quality content. And there's bound to be somebody live, I think. This time on Sunday, just run a bit slow. It's making its mind up. Oh, well, we've got a choice, a selection, people. One of which is a sort of tandem. I'm sure they'll be in conversation together. No Justice and Kevin Logan. And we've got Left of the Box as well. Any preference? Make yourself heard immediately. That's all for Fondue for now. Left of the box. Okay, let's go in with the left of the box. Showing some solidarity. Stateside, as well as with a viewer of the channel as well. That was in the chat earlier, I believe. So let's show some solidarity. Hit subscribe and things. I've made the selection now. I'm sure we'll have other opportunities to get in with Helena or Kev. I also recommend go and subscribe there. That's at No Justice MTG, and also Kevin Logan, fellow YouTubers, fellow socialists. Check them out. But we'll be going left of the box for now. From the Sunday live stream though, that will be it from me, your humble host, Lefty. Take care, my left, I'll be seeing you soon. Free Palestine and power to the people. Oh, without almost forgetting, one final thing. Of course, the poll, final reckoning on the poll, 48% of you think 6 months or less, clear winner there. 31% 7 to 12 and 10% bar. Actually remembered to end a poll properly on a stream. For once. Which I do normally do because this is a serious channel. All about politics and society from a left-wing perspective. Thanks again everybody. Take care, be seeing you soon. Good night.
Socialists